first emperor of the Roman Empire, adoptive son of no other than Julius Caesar, a political genius, and maybe, just maybe, one of the world's first coin collectors. Today, we have a very special episode dedicated entirely to Augustus. Let's have a quick glance over some of his incredibly varied coinage, from his time as Octavian during the Second Triumvirate, all the way to the later years of his long and prosperous reign. Let's go! On The Life of the 12 Caesars, Suetonius, a Roman historian and biographer, makes a very interesting remark about Augustus. On the Saturnalia, and at any other time when he took it into his head, he would give gifts of clothing or gold and silver, coins of every device, including old pieces of the king's and foreign money. This is a very interesting comment, particularly taking into consideration that any foreign money that reached the state treasury was supposed to be melted down and restruck on Roman coins. Could Augustus have had a personal collection of old Greek or non-Roman coins? Maybe we're talking about the world's first ancient coin collector. Collector or not, Augustus definitely had a very keen interest on the message passed on his coinage, either choosing the messages himself or having a very competent staff that made sure every one of his conquests and political decisions were reflected on a coin type, since the designs struck during his reign were incredibly diverse and frankly, very creative and smart. The man deserves multiple videos showing his coins. There are really tons of different types to talk about, but today I've come up with a quick selection of 7 denarii struck from the time he was still Octavian all the way to the middle of his reign, when he used these as perfect tools to reinforce the new imperial cult. So let's have a look at some of them. So we start by Julius Caesar's innovation, and some would say sacrilege, of adding portraits of living Romans on coins, and the idea quickly caught up after his assassination. This denarius, struck just 3 years after Caesar's assassination in 41 BC, shows both Octavian and Mark Antony. Being minted on the east, ruled by Antony, probably at the city of Ephesus, it shows Antony as the established power, and Octavian more as a figure on the rise. On the obverse, we see the portrait of Mark Antony, with the legends proclaiming him as the strong man of this new triumvirate, which reads, Marcus Antonius, Imperator Augur, leader of troops and chief priest, Tresuiri Republicae Constituende, part of the current constitutional triumvirate, and then the name of the questor, the administrative official responsible for the minting of these coins, the questor Marcus Barbatius Pollio. On the reverse, we're greeted with this very youthful portrait of Octavian, but he does not want you to know him as Octavian. Instead, we have his new name, taken from his adoptive father, Caesar Imperator, Pontifex, his position as priest, Tresuiri Republicae Constituende, his position as triumvir. This coin gives the impression that Octavian is somewhat inferior to Mark Antony, and very soon Octavian will take everyone by surprise by his quick ascension to relevancy. Just as Mark Antony and Octavian would drift apart, their coinage style would also drift in opposite directions. Antony tried passing a much more authoritarian and militaristic tone on most of his coins. One of the most iconic examples is his numerous Legionary Denarius series that he would strike for his troops. It would be the majority of the coins struck by him, and they would be a no-fuss message. I am a leader of troops, and everyone should respect me for that. Octavian, however, was much more tactful with his propaganda, liking better to show himself as a near-divine figure, directly descending from the deified Julius Caesar, and indirectly connecting himself to Venus, as Caesar's family typically connected themselves as descendants of the goddess. So in this denarius, struck between 32 and 31 BC, we see a plain bust of Octavian. No fancy legends, nor any complicated designs, just a plain bust of a youthful young man. On the reverse, we see this gorgeous Venus. She's seen in a very relaxed pose, maybe exposing a little bit more than she should, leaning on a column, holding a helmet and a spear. This Venus can also be interpreted as Pax, the goddess of peace, making reference that only Octavian was the one truly capable of bringing peace to the empire. The legends are simple and straightforward. Caesar divi filius, Caesar, the son of a god. And defeat his enemies and bring peace was what he did. With the defeat of Mark Antony and Cleopatra on the Battle of Actium, Octavian was on the way to become the sole ruling power of Rome. Two of the things he did to celebrate the victory were to found a city close to where the battle took place, properly called Nicopolis or Nicopolis, the city of victory, and to raise a temple dedicated to Apollo, his preferred deity, on the spot. This particular coin celebrates these two events. On the obverse, we see this lovely bust of Apollo, with a laurel wreath symbolizing the military victory he has just achieved. The reverse shows Octavian dressed on ceremonial robes, plowing with a team of oxen the foundational grids that mark the area where the city would be constructed. Interestingly, Nicopolis still exists. It's a tiny little town right next to the ruins of the original one demarcated by Augustus. Who knows what lies beneath the soil of the modern Nicopolis? So let's leap forward in time and leave the Republic behind us. The year is 17 BC, and Octavian, now Augustus Caesar, is the uncontested ruler of the newborn Roman Empire. The denarii of this time, as emperor, focused mainly on the establishment of the imperial cult and aggrandizing his public works. The year 17 BC was a special one. Augustus at this time celebrated his Ludi Seculares, a series of spectacular games and celebrations that would happen nearly every century, as to be a one-in-a-lifetime event. One of the most famous mint officials to strike coins under Augustus must have been Marcus Sanquinius. He issued a series of denarii at the occasion focused on remembering the population of the astronomical event that marked Julius Caesar's assassination. So what a coincidence, right after the death and subsequent deification of Caesar, a comet was seen for 7 days on the skies. Caesar's comet, or Sidus Iulium as it was called, is probably the best recorded astronomical event of antiquity, and was considered at the time as a sign of the ascension of Julius Caesar's soul to the divine sphere. This is why on the obverse of this denarius we can see a youthful portrait which represents a rejuvenated Julius Caesar under his comet. The legends make reference to the moneyer responsible for the issue. We can read, Marcus Sanquinius, Triumvir Monetalis. The man must have felt quite proud to have his name right next to Caesar himself. The reverse was absolutely dedicated to the man of the hour. We are greeted once again to the tranquil bust of Augustus and the legends, Augustus divi filius, Augustus, son of a god. Next, I would be negligent not to talk about Augustus' famous statement that he found Rome a city of bricks and he made it a city of marble. Quite a lot of Augustus' buildings indeed made their way into some of the propaganda on his coins, and I will show you two examples. This first denarius, struck at 16 BC, shows on the obverse one of Augustus' equestrian statues in lovely perspective with the inscription Senatus Populusque Romanus Imperator Caesar beneath the statue. On the background, you can actually see one of Rome's gates and the city walls, sort of like rising from left to right. I particularly love this example for its use of two different layers to convey two different bits of information. The reverse features a miliarium, a stone obelisk that was placed on Roman road linkings and milestones to indicate directions, distances, and pay homage to those responsible for sponsoring the construction of the road. Augustus directed a good portion of his own funds to pay for such works, and the miliarium in this coin pays homage to him. So we can read, senatus populusque Romanus imperator Caesari quod vie munite sunt ex ea pecunia quamis ad erarium detulit, which roughly translates to the Emperor Caesar of the Senate and the people of Rome has funded the construction works of this road with his own private funds. The legends on the edges make reference to Lucius Vinicius, this year's mint official. But not all was sunshine and happiness for Augustus's propagandistic endeavors. He had blunders. This next coin features the Parthian Arch. It was typical for victorious Romans to be held a triumph, as in like a parade for their military success, and many, after the parade, commissioned beautiful arches as monuments to their success. On the center of this coin, we can see the Actium Arch, celebrating Augustus's triumph over the Egyptians at the Battle of Actium, in a sense, celebrating Cleopatra's downfall. But let's remember that Romans only celebrated the triumphs over other peoples, other nations, not against fellow Romans. Cleopatra was not entirely on her own. She was allied with Mark Antony, and Antony too was an enormously popular individual. So the Actium Arch was, in a sense, a political blunder because it was celebrating a civil war, not a conquest war. Augustus had to fix this somehow, and he saw in the Parthians, Rome's old enemies to the east, a good opportunity to fix this blunder. Rome's disastrous campaigns against them at the end of the Republic meant many legionary standards were in possession of the Parthians, a major shame to the imperial army. Augustus, sensing a time of fragility, threatened the Parthians with military action and recovered the standards without needing military intervention. This was the perfect opportunity for him to recommission the arch, transforming a monument to a bloody civil war into a celebration of his victory over the Parthians without bloodshed. And he did this by adding two auxiliary arches to the sides of the original central arch, adorned with statues, and completely redecorated the entire thing. A masterful move to erase a stain on his reputation and make him look like the good guy once again. Just like with the previous coin, the issue was made under Monier Lucius Vinicius, and we can read his name at the lower part of the reverse. And finally, I could not wrap up a video on Augustus without showing a coin depicting his right hand, Agrippa. Agrippa was his lifelong friend, a very loyal ally of Augustus on all crucial moments, and a very competent man on certain areas where Augustus had shortcomings. He would be his main lieutenant on battle, strategist, main representative, general. Wherever Augustus needed something done efficiently, like if he was at the spot, Agrippa would be personally picked to deal with it. And the man received lavish recognition for his loyalty, like showing up on coins like this one. So let's have a look. On the obverse, we can see the typical bust of Augustus, with the simple legends, Caesar Augustus. And on the reverse, almost as dignified as the very same emperor, we see the bust of Agrippa, with the legends referring to him, Marcus Agrippa, and once again, the Triumvir Monetalis for the ear, Platorinus Triumvir. It was a huge show of recognition to have your bust featured on a coin in equal majesty as the emperor himself. Remember that same spot on the reverse was previously occupied by no other than Julius Caesar himself. Agrippa must have felt quite good by seeing this piece. Out of the many types of coins issued by Augustus, which one would be your favorite? Let us know in the comments. He's one of my favorite emperors, and probably the one who used coins as propaganda vectors in the best way possible. I hope you all enjoyed. Please leave a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. And I hope you all stay safe. See you soon.